So we've looked at assets, we've looked at liability, we've looked at revenue, we've looked at income. The next one is expenses. Expenses simply has to do with a decrease in the economic benefits of an entity. So anything at all that reduces our income is an expenses. So we pay for electricity bill, it's an expenses. We pay for rent, it's an expenses. We pay for fuel, it's an expenses, right? So all of those is an expenses. But this is another thing you must understand. Reduction is in income is an expenses. So let's say that we sold on credit to somebody and the person is supposed to pay us in 2 months' time. And for some reason, the person is unable to pay us all the money and they are bankrupt. Okay. So we sold to the person for, say, $5 million. And for some reason, the person has filed for bankruptcy and whatever the heck, they are going into liquidation. And so we are going to get only $1.5 million. Okay. So we sold to the person $5 million, but we are getting only $1.5 million. So it means $3.5 million is gone. That is a bad debt. So that is an expenses. So provision for bad debt and bad debt written off all our expenses. They reduce our economic benefit. They reduce our profitability as an entity. And so that is why, as a business owner, it is important that, yes, although to stimulate our top line element, which is the revenue, we can sell on credit, we must also be mindful of the consequences of selling on credit. Because when you sell too much on credit without having a proper credit control policy in place or trade receivable management policy in place, you will end up selling a lot on credit, but getting just a few amounts of money at the end of the day, thereby reducing your profitability. So top line, your revenue could be $25 million, but then your bottom line profit, you are getting negative. It means you're actually making losses. Why? Because the people you sold to on credit are not able to pay you on time, so you may have to make provision for bad debt, or some of them cannot even pay all the money, so you have to write off some of the debt as bad. And that becomes an expenses to the entity. So reduction in income is an expenses. Then increase in liability is also an expenses. So let's say we bought on credit from a supplier and we are supposed to pay the supplier after 3 months. And what we bought is $1.5 million. But the transaction is structured in such a manner that if we are not able to make the payment in 3 months, then there will be penalty of 25% on the money. And so if it happens that we are not able to pay the supplier after 3 months, then there will now be the penalty. That penalty results into increase in the amount of money we owe the supplier. So that increase in the liability is also going to be an expenses. So that is what you must understand about expenses. So from the layman's view, expenses is, we pay for electricity bill. That's our expenses. Expenses is we pay for fuel. That's our expenses. But in the accounting class, expenses go beyond the cost we are incurring in running our business. Reduction in our income is an expenses. Increase in our liability is equally an expenses, and we must recognize that in our books as an entity. Even fair value loss from the valuation of assets is also an expenses. So like the example I gave earlier, we bought shares in MTN, and just an example, okay? So let's say we bought the shares at 5 Ghana cedis. Then the share drops to, say, 4 Ghana cedis. That is a fair value loss. It must be recognized in the books. It's an expenses. And we must account for it in the books of the entity. So that fair value loss is an expenses. Or we revalue our assets. Something happens and our assets are suffering an impairment. Okay, impairment is an expenses. Revaluation loss is an expenses. We must recognize it in the books. So in the accounting class, expenses go beyond just the cost we incur in running the operations of the entity, but anything that results into reduction in our income, increase in our liability, or fall in value of our assets, all that are also categorized and treated as expenses in our books. And there are various accounting standards that also give us the guidelines on how these expenses are accounted for in respect of the particular transactions or events in place. Then the last element of the financial statement certainly is equity. Okay, so if you're a good student or if you're somebody who is learning basic accounting 101, one of the things you will learn is the accounting equation. The accounting equation is asset equals capital plus liability, or asset equals equity plus liability. So equity is simply the shareholders' fund. What belongs to the shareholders? So equity is simply your total asset minus your liabilities. So if we take the assets of the entity and pay all the liabilities of the entity, how much is left for the shareholders? How much is left for the ordinary shareholders, the equity shareholders? That is equity. Now, equity has a number of components, or shareholders fund has a number of components that you must be mindful of. So we have the share capital there. Okay. We have share premium. Okay. The share premium simply represents the profits arising from the issue of shares. So for instance, if the nominal value of the shares of the entity is, say, $1, and the entity issues the shares at, say, $2.5, the nominal value is $1. The shares are issued at $2.5. And so the 1.5 extra is the profit arising from the issue of shares. And that is recorded in the share premium account. So share capital records the nominal value of the shares. The share premium records the profit arising from the issue of shares. Then we have retained earnings. Retained earnings represent the undistributed profits accumulated over the years. And so when an entity makes profit but doesn't pay all of the profit out as dividend, the amount remaining is what is referred to, or what we will see in the retained earnings. Sometimes it is also referred to as income surplus. That's another name for the retained earnings, income surplus. Then we have what we call revaluation surplus. Revaluation surplus simply records the revaluation gains arising from revaluation of assets. So if an entity has a building and they revalue the building and they are carrying the building at, say, 5 million, but they revalue the building and they realize that, oh, the fair value of the building is actually 7.5 million. That means that the building has increased in value by 2.5 million. That increase in value of the building, 2.5 million, is referred to as revaluation gain or revaluation surplus. And that is recorded under equity as well. It's part of the money belonging to the ordinary shareholders or the equity shareholders. And so that is recorded under revaluation surplus. So the share capital tells us about the nominal value of the shares of the entity. The share premium records the profit arising from the issue of the shares. The retained earnings, the undistributed accumulated profits over the years. Revaluation surplus, recording the gain or surplus arising from revaluation of assets. Then we can also talk about other components of equity. Now, the other component of equity records all of the transactions that must be recognized under equity, which cannot be categorized under any of the four categories that we have mentioned already. So, for instance, when an entity issues a convertible loan note, IAS 32, Financial Instrument Presentation, requires that the convertible loan note must be splitted between equity and debt. And so that equity component coming in from the convertible loan note will be recorded under, or will be recorded as part of other components of equity, which will be coming under the equity in the statement of financial position. And so there are various accounting standards that will give us guidelines on how each of these items will be treated. And then the general conceptual framework gives us guidelines on some of the things. So if you're a business owner, you are an entrepreneur, or you are just learning something about accounting, or you're an accounting student, these are the key elements of the financial statements and how they are supposed to be measured and treated. In the next episode, we're going to be taking some of them with their specific accounting standard and give you an executive summary, key principle discussion on how each of them are accounted for, treated, recognized in the financial statement, so it can help you as a small business owner to know how to keep basic books of accounts, and also as an accounting student, learning, revising on some of these accounting issues at the end of the day. Let me hear from you in the comment section if there are any questions you have for me, and I'll see you on the next one. So if you learned something from this video, remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share the video so that others can also see this. Most importantly, let me hear from you if there are any questions you have, or if you have any topic that you would want me to cover on the next episode, leave it in the comment section. I want to read from you. If you want to enroll as well in our courses to study under my mentorship for your ICA, ACCA, CIMA, or ICAG examination, you can head on to our website, NhyiraPremium.com, or download the Nhyira Premium mobile application on the Google Play Store or the App Store to complete your enrollment. You can also send us a message on WhatsApp or call us 050-114-9296. 050-114-9296. Complete your enrollment today to join our community. Let me hold your hand, provide you with the blueprints that you need with the team here. Let us assist you. This is our mission. This is what we do. This is what we are called for. And we have the resources, the skills, the expertise needed to help you to pass the examination. So visit our website, NhyiraPremium.com, to read more about us. Or better still, download the Nhyira Premium mobile application on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. You want to get personal? Hit us with a DM or send us a message on WhatsApp 050-114-9296. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.